Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. My voice isn't ready. Barely anything is ready, but um, the gist of today's lesson is that I haven't been on my channel in forever, and I've been wanting to make some content. Thinking about it as I drive down the road for my job, delivering freight, which eliminates the ability for me to have time to even make lessons from the van that I'm kind of stuck in during the day, and because I travel across country, I'm sure you've known that from my other videos, and so I'm not even at home anymore. But today I got lucky and I have one day at home, so I wanted to get on here and make a video, but I've got so many things to do today, I couldn't make a video to edit, so here I am live. And we got I think a super interesting video today about 3 pentatonics and how they fit into the major scale. But before we get into that, there's a couple of other things. I guess I'm done making excuses for my appearance and my lack of being on here. And also, this is what I wanted to say. If you leave any, if you chat with me or leave any text, or try to communicate with me during the lesson, I couldn't find out anymore how to bump up the chat screen window, because YouTube, since I've been on here last, they change everything all the time, so I couldn't find how to get that window up and off into the corner of my screen, so I can't see what's happening in the chat area. Maybe I can do that with my phone, but that will probably be another video. I want to get right to the material. I still got a couple more things to say. So if you bump on this video, I won't be like, hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming, because I won't see you on there. Number 2, I didn't announce this video like I was going to yesterday, really quick, so I don't expect anybody to show up anyways while I'm on here. But if you do, and you happen to catch me saying this, hello and thank you. Speaking of hello and thank you, in the last few days there's been a couple of subscribers, and please forgive me for not having your particular screen name in front of me to personally say thank you to, but I do thank you very much. And especially I want to bring you, I want to thank someone I do have in front of me. This person here, I guess it's not going to show my phone. For some reason it's too whitewashed there, but anyways, I'm going to read you an email I got from PayPal, which was very unusual. I know I've had a donation button up for a while, and I've never seen it work, and now I kind of know why. And so here it is from Philippe Moraine. So Mr. Philippe Moraine, I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate you. When this popped up, I was just like, what? I just couldn't believe it. It was so great. Let me read you guys the email. It was just so kind and informative too. It let me know something about what I need to do to change up some things on this channel. So here it is. The message says, hey man, I know it's not much, but have a couple of beers on me. Thanks, dude. I really appreciate your content! Exclamation point. Hey, you're welcome. I appreciate that you appreciate it. Very unconventional way to look at the fretboard. It's refreshing. Hey, thanks, man. That's what I thought. On a side note, you should try to find an alternative for PayPal donations. The fees are insane. 19% for this transaction. Thanks for letting me know. I never knew that, and that is basically huge, and no wonder nobody would ever, and I wouldn't expect anybody to basically, give PayPal 20% of this donation. So, and it's held me back a couple times, is what Philip writes. So maybe look into cryptocurrencies. Nano is feeless, for instance, or you can register as a Brave creator. Bats can be earned by using the Brave browser and spent on tips. Cheers, have a great day, Phil. So pretty interesting there. That's something I might consider. I've never been into cryptocurrency, and as it's kind of faded off the radar, I kind of thought, I think that was just a fad. But perhaps that's a way to get some fees and then be able to spend that on things online. that can help the channel. That's a possibility. I don't necessarily need, I guess, if it's, I've never known that it's real, something real that you could actually spend at something like Sweetwater for new equipment, or Amazon for something you need. But if that's, someone could show me that that's possible, I would definitely consider cryptocurrency. Why do I need it in my account if it works the same way that way, especially if there's no fees? So that's possible. And then I should work on getting my Patreon account promoted, but I got to be honest with you. I can't, I think it's just that it's not that I can't, I don't have enough time to figure out how the hell Patreon even works. And it's the same thing with Twitter. Now, when it came to Facebook and YouTube, I could look at Facebook, and I didn't have anyone have to explain the complexities of Facebook. I could get who sees what, how to upload, how it works. It just makes sense to me. It seems very straightforward. YouTube, the same way. But when it comes to, like, let's start with Twitter, I could never understand, like, well, wait a minute, who sees what? How does this even work? I can't get a picture of what I post, what it does, who sees what. So, same thing with Instagram. I can sort of get how that works. And then Patreon is the same way. I just can't understand how it works. So, until I do, that might stay kind of behind the game. Then I was thinking about maybe just doing a GoFundMe, which I can understand, and if people would want to fund this channel into a real channel, like something I can do every day, then I could switch over. But now I actually have a job. Like before, when I had a job I hated that wasn't allowing me mental energy to upload things, my construction job, I definitely should have done it then, because I definitely wanted to quit that job, and I did. Now I got this van driving job, and I kind of like it. I really, and it's paying the bills more than any other job, so I'm getting ahead, not by much, but at least I've overcome my late bills, which is nice. So, that being said, I wouldn't want to necessarily quit this right away, but if I got a GoFundMe account rolling that, got me started on 2 months of bills, to where I could just concentrate on being home and making videos, making a course from start to finish, professionally edited, maybe move into a real music studio type of thing where I can have a real background and a real bunch of equipment. You got to see the cobbled setup I do this with. Just a couple cameras. One is a PVC pipe assembled to make a camera stand and all kinds of weird stuff, but it works. A Radio Shack microphone I bought in 1988, I think. But it works. So anyway, so let's get on with the lesson, okay? Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Philippe Moraine, I believe is the pronunciation. And I really, really appreciate that. So that was PayPal. If you want to send a PayPal donation, I really do appreciate it, but I don't expect it because I'm amazed at those 19% transaction fees. That's a little outrageous. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. That's type of information like that is just indispensable. So, all right. Today, as the title should suggest to this video, we want to concentrate on how 3 pentatonic scales, and I think this microphone is falling. There we go. Okay, I should sit down anymore. How 3 pentatonic scales fit into the major scale. And to do that, we're going to use this basic box here. There's 5 notes in a pentatonic scale. Penta, 5 notes in the scale, and that means there's 5 shapes on the fretboard. And the one shape you probably most likely have already learned and know is this shape here. 1, 4. I don't know if you can see my fingers there. Starting on the 5th fret, 8th fret, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7. you know, that scale that you can do all that with. And then after a while, you know all those licks, but they get boring, and you want to know about how to, you know, do more creative things with this pentatonic scale. And I'm going to show you that today. Maybe we'll get into the actual musical implications of this later, but at least let's get the framework visualized in our minds today. So, 3 pentatonic scales in the... Why are there 3 pentatonic scales? Well, I'll start by telling you how I figured this out. I kind of already knew this, but the other day I was thinking in my van about the black keys on a piano. That is a... Well, that would be this. Okay, so the black keys on a piano are the E-flat pentatonic scale, and I was thinking, how many of those are there in a major scale? How many major scales use all the black keys? And I needed to think about something as I was driving all these miles, so I needed a 20-minute thought, and so I visualized how there was 1 key, then I visualized 2 keys, and I was like, there's got to be 3 keys, and then yeah, there was 3 keys that fit in to the major scale, that use all the black keys. So I thought, okay, so 3 scales, a pentatonic scale, 1 pentatonic scale fits into 3 keys, and therefore 3 key. It's the reverse is also true, that 3 pentatonic scales also fit into 1 key. So I thought, boy, that's pretty interesting. Let me make a lesson about that. So, here we go. Actually, I'll draw you something else here to make sense of what I just said. It's a little jumping ahead in the lesson here, but here's a pentatonic scale, right? I'm going to draw you 3 pentatonic scales. 6, we need 6, and then we're going to go 4, and then these are the 3s, and then the 4 again. You want to see how the 3 scales work out. If there's 3, here's the deal. If there's 3 scales available that use the black keys, that means that we should be able to take a representation of the pentatonic box. If this note was on E flat, or maybe this one, or whatever, this could represent all the black keys on the piano. Not really important, but then basically you only had to add in 2 white keys, because let's think about this. We have 5 notes in a pentatonic scale, so how many notes are there in a major scale? There's 7, so we're only missing 2 notes. So where do these 2 notes plug in to a pentatonic scale? And there should be a different place for each of these 2 notes, and it works like this. If we're just considering the in between the big box here, this is the big box, this is the small box. Okay, small box, big box. And in between the big box, all we have to do is add in this note, these 2 notes here to create a square on that side. 2 notes using or another way to think about this is using the guts. So call this the gut area. We have a choice of 4 notes in here. All we need to use is 2 of these, and we'll get the 2 needed notes to make the major scale. So we've got this one and this one. What's the third one? Well, it doesn't look like we have any other choice, but actually we have 2 choices, but we're only going to use 1 choice. We're going to use 1 on that side and 1 on that side. And this creates our balanced scale. This creates our slightly brighter scale, and this creates a slightly darker scale. But anyways, there you have it. And if you want to consider the small box too, When you add in the box here, you add in the box on that side. When you add the box in here, you add the box on this side. When you have the split box here, you put a split box on this side. You put an ear there and an ear there. And as a technical, you'd have a note right there. You'd have the big box right there. And if you've watched any of my other videos and know how that box is how you can visualize the major scale, you'll know exactly where these fit in already. But anyways, there's an example of the 5 notes that fit into 3 different scales. So for example, if we considered this our root note, then this would be we'd be starting on the 5, because the box is always the 1 of the scale. This is always do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, do. So for example, if this is a box here, we would have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and then do. We're at the beginning of the box again. And in case you're like, hey, wait a minute, there's no box right there. Well, actually, this is where the the G and B string have that little shift there. So this is the bottom, these 2 notes, and these 2 notes are the top. And of course, it looks like there's a note right here because everything gets boxed in, but there's no note right there. We're just doing these 2. And then those 2. So for example, yeah. So and if you notice, that is usually called the Aeolian. If you consider that minor root right there, which is 6, 7, 1, 6 Aeolian, you can see how it all starts to make sense. And if you consider the minor here, that is a Dorian scale. And if you consider the minor here, this makes it the Phrygian scale. That can lead you for a new beginner into all kinds of confusion. So don't even worry about that if it confused you. It should make clear sense in a little bit. But anyways, what this is getting into is where I was going to start the video, that on each of these scales you have a minor root and a major root, minor root and a major root, minor root and a major root. So if the minor root, we'd have Aeolian. If this was a major root, we'd have Ionian. You can see, like I said, this is the 1 Ionian. And as you can see, they call the 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can consider any of these the 1. Like if you start on this note, then it becomes the 1, and you can just, there's the being like correct in music theory. You can rename these, and it really adds a level of complexity and confusion that you kind of don't really need to get it all understood. So let's just go with this basic way, in case all the music theories are like, well, that would be 1, just consider this. This will help the beginners understand. So anyways, what I was saying is Aeolian, Ionian, this is the, you've heard that this is the natural minor scale. You can actually consider this the natural minor and natural major, because Ionian, the mode Ionian, is actually the major scale. It's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So it's the natural major and natural minor. And you can see it's balanced. All right. When it's lopsided, it's a little bit brighter or a little bit darker. And you have a lighter and darker scale. So this is, on the lighter minor, you have Dorian. On the lighter major, you have Lydian. For darker scales, you have a little bit on the minor. What's darker than Aeolian and minor? Phrygian. And then Mixolydian. Okay, so like for example, like you can consider the minor scales like a frown, and the major scales like a happy. Right? And then you can consider the neutral scale, just kind of the eyebrows are flat. On the, if you want an emotional kind of picture, this is a little silly, but something I did one time, and it kind of made me laugh and made sense. With the Dorian, this is if your eyebrows were raised up. You know, sad has got a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, and so see, that looks a little happier than just that, right? But now, if we wanted to get a little bit darker, we tilt the eyebrows the inward way, and there you have the this scale. You know, it's a little bit angrier, a little bit it's happy, but a little bit more of a, you know, twisted happy. This is a little bit more melancholic, a little bit happier, Lydian, and then just kind of basically sad, basically happy. Kind of neat, huh? I've shown that in other videos, so we'll come back to this. So, that being said, let's get some, we're going to concentrate on this shape. We'll go over all 5 shapes in a little bit, but let's concentrate on this shape really quick. Now, well, it's 2 things we want to visualize on this shape. So let's draw another 2 pentatonics here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Box it up. Create the lines. Wow, just as I was thinking, boy, geez, making some pretty straight boxes today. A little sloppy there, but anyways, just going to draw 2 different separate versions. This all occurs in the same box as I just showed you, major and minor. But since I want to draw the chord shape that you should think about, this will help you incorporate the not only the teaching of major and minor in the pentatonic, but you also want to overlap that information with your chordal thinking, so you know your chord tones when you want to jam major and minor. So, for example, we call this our minor root, and we call this our major root. Let's use green for major, green for go, right? We'd have our major and minor roots. So that's the basic people will tell you. So this is your minor root. If I put this over, let's hear this really quick, actually, too. I'm going to play a root note here. Let's make it interesting. I'll play a B. So what I got to do, me playing it in minor, and it sounds minor because you're hearing all these notes compared to the low B. If I want to accentuate one of these sounds, it's helpful to have your ear be able to compare it to one of these sounds. Now, so I place that over the B note. Now I'm going to place this over the B note, so that means I shift my pattern down here. So, a couple things I actually was thinking about when I just jammed that. start with, I started playing that major chord since we were playing it in minor. I knew I needed to kind of get your ear to think major, so I started just playing that major chord to change away from minor, and then when I started playing all the major pentatonic notes, it sounded more major, and it was the same root note playing that B. See, it starts to sound minor again because I'm focusing on the minor root note. But anyways, at the end I played some chord tones to accentuate once again the major. But you know, actually I screwed up there, because what I wanted to show you is this time I'm going to play the box in the same exact spot. So what I want to show you is the same exact notes can sound major or minor. That was the actual point I was trying to make. So let's play this box here, this pentatonic shape on the A string. Let's make it easy for you guys. Play it on the 5th fret. So if I play a root note without any chord, just playing the root note, it should sound minor. And then if I play a C root note in the background, that same exact pool of notes should sound major. And the point I'm trying to make there is stop having people make you think that the scale is what you do to change the mode. It's the root note playing that changes the modal sound. So the scales can stay static in your mind, and that's where the confusion comes. You start trying to learn all 8 million scales, and that's where you stay behind, and other guitarists who get it move ahead, because they're not telling you this, that it's the root note or the chord in the background that changes the modal flavor in most any circumstance, okay? So here we go. We're going to start with the A note, and this is A, this would be B, and this would be C, right? So we're going to use an A, and we're going to use a C, because there's our minor root and our major root over the same exact 5 notes. Oops. Minor. So it had a serious sound to it. It's the 5 pentatonic notes played with a root note on the minor note, so made it minor pentatonic. And so let's play the exact same 5 notes and turn the same 5 notes in a random melody into a major sound. How do the exact same notes change tonalities? Because it's the root note that you're hearing. So we're going to have to play a C root note, because that note is the C note. Let's play it. I did differently in that melody was because I knew I was trying to make a major tonality and it wouldn't make sense to play it in a minor sense. It wouldn't sound good. I didn't accentuate I accentuated the root note that was being played. So in this case it was the C. So when I really wanted to like give it a final ending kind of sound and wrap things up, and I stayed on chord tones. There's root, 3rd, 5, root. I slid around to the other pentatonic scales, neighboring boxes there, in case you wondered about the extra notes. But anyways, same notes, all from these 5 notes. So there's I hope you had an eye-opener there if you've never realized, like, that was the exact same 5 notes. In one setting, they sounded major. In one setting, they sounded minor. And I didn't really, it was mostly random. I really didn't do anything except sort of focus on the chord tones to try to nail in the sounds with my playing. So there was a little bit of difference. It was really a difference in phrasing, not a difference in notes. So the difference with modes is in phrasing, chord tones, and not the different scale patterns, okay? So scales move around for keys, but the pattern, you know, there's 5 modes in every key, or 7 modes in every key, sorry. So you can just think about one scale. In every key means a pattern of notes, the same exact 7 notes. There's 7 modes in the same exact 7 notes. So what changes those modes? It's not learning 7 different scales like you're always taught. It's about knowing those 7 different chords that bring those modes out. And when you can play each and every chord off of each note in the scale, knowing which one's major, which one's minor. That's another video. It's so much music theory information, you know, you can't get to in one video. But anyways, so to reiterate the point I'm trying to make for 10 minutes here is that it's the chord, not the mode. So everyone's screaming for me to move on, so let's move on. The next point was, the reason I showed you these 2 here, was these are the chord tones I was accentuating. So this is what you want to visualize. When you're thinking minor, visualize world peas. Ha ha ha. The minor chord is right there. Oh yeah, you're like, oh yeah, that's the bar chord. Gee, heck, I knew that. See, there's this note to make it major. This note is making it minor. It's your minor third, so your major third, if you add that in, here how it makes it happy, and it's not in the scale. It's minor pentatonic right there. So major pentatonic. Of course, you can do that bar chord from here, from C. Move this shape up to the C note and add in that happy third, but we're not going to do that today. I'm going to show you how you can visualize that all inside of one scale, and it's your G-shaped chord. And if you said, what do you mean G-shaped chord? Check out how these notes fall here. If you play your open G, it's really this, you're playing the same exact thing. That's why G major seems to have a relationship with E minor. Hey, that's neat. So, there you go. Bit of musicality today, but there's way more. Let's get, how is there 3 of these shapes in the major scale? Well, let's remember, in a major scale, you have 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, and a 1. In that order, there's a half step here between the 7 and the 1, half step here between the 3 and the 4, and that creates your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And if you look at the white keys on the piano, you can see they're grouped with white, black, and then white, black, white, black, white, black. The 3 black keys and the 2 black keys. So there's always that 3, 2, and then that like 3 white keys, 4 white keys, 3 white keys, 4 white keys. That 3-4 pattern is something that you'll always want to have in the back of your mind. Anyways, though, to move quickly over something that takes a little more study for someone who has no idea how this stuff works, what you're going to have to do in this lesson for those people is just take my word for it. You have notice I'm making a big M and a small m, big M. This one should have a 7 because it's a 7th chord, but we're just going to put a big M to keep it simple for people today. Small M for minor. Just make it minor, minor, minor. And then this is like diminished. There's your 7th note. Diminished. We're going to put a question mark there. We're not going to concentrate on that today. What we're going to notice there, though, is that there's 3 major chords and 1, 2, 3 minor chords. 2, 3, and 6. 1, 4, and 5. And if you just rang a bell there, hey, 1, 4, 5. Isn't that the blues? There you go. There's a reason that the blues sounds good. And it's the most, some of the most common and the strongest chords you hear in the scale. A lot of things go back to the 1 major if you want to make it, just basic major flavor. Then you have your 4 and your 5 and your 1. Anyways, just real, everything is deep and complex in music theory, and there's a tangent in a rabbit hole at every turn. So there's a million discussions right here, but just for the basics today, remember that there's 3 major chords and there's 3 minor chords. And that's all we don't have to know that they're the 4th and the 6th and whatever. Just remember there's 3 major and 3 minor, and you saw it here, and now you know it. So if there is 3 major chords and 3 minor chords, hey, that makes sense. That means there's 3 pentatonic scales, and each of them has a major root, 1, 2, 3 majors, and 3 minors. Where do these 3 pentatonic scales fit into the scale? Let's go over that. But before we go over that, we're going to run out of graph paper. Let's see if we got more here. Oh boy, that one looks all filled up. Let's see if we got another one here. Oh, that ain't good. Hold on. Oh, we got some here. It's kind of ruined, though. Ooh. Alright, I think we can use this here. Gonna get a little funky. Funky, monkey, chunky. Alright, got some new graph paper there. It's not gonna sit flat, and that's gonna annoy me. I don't want a curved screen there, but I guess we're gonna have to make do with this today. So we gotta be quick, and we gotta get through this. So, the 3 major scales fitting into the major scale. Before we get into that, we're going to get into something here. First, I think this is important to know. If you have a guitar fretboard here, so let's make a fretboard, but we don't want to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't want to kind of indicate, I don't want to put these over any particular note. So in making this fretboard, what we're not going to do is draw like the dots, and we're just going to do the general. So this could be like anywhere in the fretboard. You have your basic pentatonic shape that we were going over. So like what I'm going to show you everything today based on how I'm going to show you how this shape, one shape, fits into the major scale in 3 different places. But you really want to know your pentatonic scale. Basically, like what you heard me play was not just this shape, but I was going into the neck shape over, and you want to just be able to go all over the neck with this. I used to be able to, why I'm getting at this is, when I learned pentatonics, what happened was I learned this scale, and then I knew that there were 5 other shapes, but I was always thinking about these shapes as separate places. So every time I was in the shape, it always kind of took some thought to go there, and I was confused. I couldn't remember each pattern. It was too many to remember. And so I never ventured there, and for years and years I was just in this box. And maybe I knew these notes too because of some Pink Floyd and Rush solos I learned, that there was like these notes available, and basically that was it. And I could never figure out why the gut notes in here were different on some songs, but It'll be clear, should be clear after this video. So, I knew like that. But, anyways, what you want to know is the whole thing throughout the neck. So, you know, a couple of different ways you can memorize this. You can just think about the two repeating shapes, the big square and the small square. We've always talked about, just in case, we'll just separate those out for everyone who's confused out there, because Lord knows people get confused pretty easy. It's like when you're a beginner. When you're a beginner, other people are just kind of know this already, and they're just like, boring lesson, dude. Can you tell us something more advanced? That's the thing with YouTube lessons. Like, you never know, like, your exact audience. Some people need this. Some people are past it. So basically, a pentatonic shape, this shape is made up of these two boxes, this and this. This is what repeats over the fretboard. So you can think about this, you can take this, and everything always repeats in this direction on the fretboard. Kind of that diagonal. So we can take this, and we can, like, this note is this, that's an octave. It's the same note. This note is this note. So therefore, it stands to reason that beyond this note and this note, there should be a note. We should be in that box. Sure enough, we are. And so we know that this box and this box are also here. Between these strings and these strings, there's an extra, there's a shift. So there's two notes in between the octave. Here we know there's only one note in between the octave on the upper strings. So we have, therefore, the box here. And we've just created a little bit more availability just by knowing how to take this big box through the octave. And then taking this box through the octave, we can think about, well, there's we know the octave going this way. Well, anyways, here's what we can know. We can know it like this. We've got the big box here, so the only thing that can be stacked on top of the big box is not another big box, but the 6-note box. Got the 4-note box and the 6-note box. It's another way we can call it. So we'll go like this. We'll go. Now you're thinking, okay, hey Mark, continue the box. Shouldn't you make some notes right there? Wait a minute. Remember the strings. Always between this note and this note, there's a shift. Oops, that went on camera there. Always between this string and this string, there's a shift. So we'll shift the box up, and we've got and we're using green and pink on everything today. No relation to what we just showed in green and pink, but what my thought process here to, you know, get across the fretboard is this way, that as is above, so is below. And so we've got, you know, just ways to get this pentatonic stuff under your, you know, in your mind. So we've got this one and this one, as is above, so is below. We have a beginning of a box down there. There's no more strings, so we're done there. And you see that we've got basically this shape that you've learned just kind of automatically there without having to learn a separate shape. See, when I learned a separate shape, one thing that helped me actually escape from the separate shape thinking was that I had to, basically when I finally learned how to see them all, the key for me was to go to stop my brain and say, hey dude, when you're in one shape, you're in the next shape. So for example, I was taught, we have basically two of the pentatonics drawn out now. Now initially I was taught this shape. It's going to be sloppy here because I'm going fast. But what we've been talking about all afternoon here, or all morning, once again, if you missed the beginning of the video, if you're saying hi, if you're on the chat box right now, I don't expect anybody to be there, but if you are, I can't see the chat box because they changed how how you access the chat box. So I'm just broadcasting using some streaming software, OBS. So I'm not using the YouTube stuff. So it changes the fact that I can't see any chat window. So hello if anybody's there. Basically you've got this shape, and then I was taught like, oh, the next shape over is this shape here. And I was always thinking of these as like a separate new place. And you can see this shape. You can see both of these shapes right there. Here's one and here's the other. But the key is, those are all the exact same notes. They're connected. There isn't really a different shape. So it wasn't really helpful for me for my teacher to say, hey, there's this shape, and then there's this shape, and he showed me all 5 shapes, but it didn't connect to me. You know, hey, call me dumb. But as a young-minded, literal thinker, taking everything everybody said in a literal sense, it didn't occur to me that these are just connected. So if I'm in this shape, I can just think about adding these notes in. Now, granted, this shape is easy enough. I kind of knew this and this one together instantly, but then these other 3 shapes were always like a mystery to me. Like this one, I kind of knew about it, but I didn't. It was always like out in no man's land, so I'd never go there because I didn't realize that once I was playing this shape here, I was actually playing this shape. And then if I was playing the the big box here, well, the next thing down was going to be a part of the smaller box, right? So started getting clear to me once I did that, and that's what I'm trying to show you today, that you want to know this whole thing, but you don't want to learn it as 5. If it's hard for you and you're learning it as 5 different shapes, kind of forget that thinking and just think about how you can connect them by thinking about the 2 shapes that you're always playing in, and that how they basically go this way. There's the big box, the big box, the big box going this way. Big box, big box, big box. And there's a little shift there, so you know, you always got kind of like a shift, and then you're going, okay. And this one is going there. Basically, what's at the top of the next box? You'd have this note, this note, this note, this note, this note, and this note. And right there, you have the small box, or the 6-note box right here. And then you have the big box. And the one thing that keeps this hidden is right there, the string shift breaks up the big box. Everything is broken over the shift, so it breaks up these concepts. So it kind of gives them this little mystery that nobody sees, and keeps everybody confused about how the guitar fretboard patterns are working. So basically it's as simple as small block, we'll call it small block, and big block. Kind of like Chevy motors there. I'm a gearhead, so small block and big block. So you hit a small block is always stacked on a big block, and a big block is always stacked on a small block. So it's always the same way. If you're done with one, you're going to find the other. And then you get this shape out of that. And there's only one more shape to know, and that's this shape that was always cumbersome for me. And so, for example, since we have, you know, let's draw, I'm going to use an X there because this is off the fretboard, but there's our big block. So we should have our big block should be going once again this way. And does it go that way? Well, yes, here is your big block. See 1, 2, 3, and 4. Big block, oops. So there should be another big block down here. And yes, there is. We're back at this shape here where it's broken. You can also think about this and basically now I'm repeating what we know from down there, and of course because we're past 12 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's the octave point right there. So there's the 3 notes. These 3 are these 3. So once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13 is actually the 1 again. We're back at the same notes we were here. So if that was an E, that would be an E. Okay. And so you basically have, let's draw this shape out on its own, so you should maybe know these, draw them out on their own. So you kind of like, if you slide into those shapes, you kind of know where you are, but you don't know them as separate shapes, separate entities. So there's like that shape. I never would ever play in that shape. Like I showed you earlier, I'd play in the bottom part, but never really get that this is the shape I was in, just because I didn't kind of know how everything stacked together. And then it was easy to learn each individual shape for my mind, because I knew like how they all plugged into each other. Okay, so there's your pentatonic scribbling all over the board, if that makes any sense to anybody. Oh yeah, one thing that came up, the last thing I was going to say about these diagonal concepts here is it's the same, well, it leads into the next thing I'm going to say, where I'm going to show you finally how the pentatonics can work into the major scale. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to use this concept here of repeats that go this way on the fretboard. So notice that with this concept, there's two rows, and those rows repeat. Much in the same way on a piano key, there's a group of like C, D, and E, the white keys, are surrounded by two black keys, and then you have F, G, A, B surrounded by three black keys. You have a group of the CD group and the F-gab group. So it's like basically it's two groups, and they keep repeating the C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And this is really the manifestation of the exact same thing on your guitar fretboard. There's this group and this group. What they're doing on the guitar fretboard is this row is utilizing the string groups. It's utilizing these two, then these two, then these two, the outside, the middle, and the bottom row together. Nice in nice easy pairs of strings. In the second row, it's just a slight bit more complex. It uses this pair, and then it uses the outside as not really a pair, but they are the same exact note, so you're getting just a half a box on the bottom. So you have a half box. Then so like for example, if you were looking at this shape, here we have the shape on the bottom two strings, then it jumps up and over. We have it repeating on the middle two strings, then it jumps an octave this way, and we have it repeating on the top two strings, and it makes the standard box we know right there. It makes that other box that we know pretty easily, and then it makes the this box right here, the top of this. So right, just that concept alone gets you three pentatonic shapes. Okay, then you could basically kind of go up this way in your thinking, and then you're on the middle pair, or you can think like this: as is above, so below. So once you get to the bottom, as is above, so below, what do you know? There's the half of our box at the top. So it should go this way again. What do you know? Now we have we're going to call it the A and D string pair. There's the box. Go to the G and B string here. So we would go, this would be an octave here. I messed up, I think. Did I mess up something there? I messed up something there. This was supposed to be here, and this was supposed to be here. I believe, yes. Yeah, that's supposed to be there. So there's a note. Well, let's do this so we kind of get clear on the notes. And that was not a note. Messed that up, and that's not a note. But we have a note here, a note here, a note there, and a note there. And so you can see the, as per the octave, you've got the box on the G and B string there broken. Oops, right here, and right here, and right there. So make that a little clear for you guys. So what are we did that in green, Lamborghini green, and it's hard to do because you can see that these are actually the same notes that make up these boxes. So what makes up this box is actually making up part of that box. Anyways, there, and there, and then it stands to reason that as per the octave of this one, which is there, we have the bottom of that box, and then as is above, so is below. So you'd have the big box there, which is the same as that big box, an octave up the fretboard. So you guys see how that works? Draw it out for yourself. If right now any of this is still like, wait, what? Just go slow, rewind the video, or watch it again, or draw it out for yourself and see how it works. You'll find that the diagonals work in string groups. All right, so how now, brown cow? I think we can eliminate a problem here by doing this. Hold on. Yeah, all right. Much better. So lay flat. Make a little less paper noise. Let's get the fretboard drawn out here. Up in here, up in here. Let's draw a fretboard up in here. Start right there. And we'll go across. We're just going to make it some random length there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 strings. We need 6 rows of boxes. So we got a fretboard, and once again, I'm not going to draw the nut or any of the dots in, because I don't want to nail this into any particular spot, because this is movable anywhere on the fretboard. So basically, let's just say we're dealing with our half steps of the major scale. So in do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, and then do again. We have a half step here and a half step here, and for an example, we're going to put C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and you can see why everyone uses the C major scale as an example, because it places all the black keys as the C sharp, D flat, D sharp, E flat, F sharp, G flat, G sharp, A flat, A sharp, B flat. So that explains a lot right there. And the major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and the what you got to remember when your brain goes, oh, here we go, learning do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Like, can we learn something that makes rock music, please? I'm so sick of learning do, re, mi. It doesn't make any sense as per real music. What you got to remember is that rock music that you hear is 99% of every Pink Floyd song and every Rush song you learn, its basis is working on do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It's crazy how this most basic thing can create such advanced, crazy music. Of course, once you add in distortion and keyboards and a great singer and a great drummer and a great bassist, and oh yeah, we're talking about Rush. In Pink Floyd and King Crimson and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and every other band, right? Okay, so anyways, and Frank Zappa and yeah, okay. And smashing guitars. So with this do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, it's important to see that there's little half steps, and that's kind of the key to what makes this thing click, is these little half steps that are just placed where they are. And we're not going to go too deep into some concepts there, but explaining the hows and the whys, but let's just know that there's these half steps. So half step, basically a whole step, is this skipping a note in between, and a half step is not skipping a note. Okay, so knowing that there's 2 half steps in that major scale between mi and fa and ti and do is important for your fretboard, because one thing you've never been taught is the fact that these half steps make a convenient little square of notes. Yes, believe it or not. For example, here's B and C, and here is E and F. On the A string and the D string. Frets 2 and 3 and 2 and 3. for example. But that's not where we are here. Here we started on using this string group, the E and the A string, and then we did the D and G, and then we're going to do B and E. Now for B and E, remember, so notice we follow the rule here. It always connects right there. But at this string, like we always say, there's the string skip there, so we got to skip a note, skip a fret, and our box goes there. So let's hear that. Here is just some random notes that I'm not going to name off, but we're going to play the same notes, the same box, the same notes will repeat. Hear this. Hear that how I screwed that up? Let's try again. Same notes, and then skipping a fret. Okay, messing things up there, but hear the octave. Notes there just to throw you off, but anyways, and just get carried away playing, because it gets cool once you can play all the notes. Then all your creativity starts coming out. So okay, really quick, so our squares, so all we need, if you've been following along, is a second row following the other pattern, the other string groups, these two and then these two, and then grouping these outside the leftover E string as a group. And how do we find that? It's always so easy. As I always say, the old Egyptian saying, as is above, so is below. And that holds true for your fretboard in a really cool, ancient magic kind of way. Must have been ancient aliens making this, right? Ha, 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 ha. Okay, so, you've got that. And so basically we've got 4 notes. How many notes do we need to make 7? Right? So we got 4 plus 3 makes 7. So we need to find in 3 more notes, and we're going to find in those 3 more notes by adding in our 5-note pentatonic. So 2 of the notes will double up, and the remaining 3 notes are going to be those 3 notes that we need right there. But we'll get to that in a second. So as is above, so is below, and our squares are always connected. So if that's half a square, right, there's actually the rest of the square is off the fretboard. Where's the next square? Can you figure it out? Did you guess right here? You would guess right. So in other words, if that was B and C, this is also, that would be E, or I'm sorry, if this was E and F, this would be B and C. So here, let me give you a little example here, something to make this more clear. We use the C major scale, and we've been talking about B and C and E and F. So if we were just considering the square, every major scale has a square, and if we were talking C major, then this is always the 1. This square is important because it contains the 1. We have 7, 1, 3, and 4. So what's 3 and 4? That's E and F. You call it the B, C, E, F square, but if you change keys, then these notes do change. But the function, see, here's the thing. You want to know that the notes change, but the function stays the same. It's a really cool, weird thing that doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem like it could be true at first, but once you get used to it all, you'll be like, oh my god, that totally does make sense. So hear me clearly here. The notes will change, but the function stays the same. So for example, I'm going to put a little question mark here because this is only true for the key of C, B, C, E, F. These notes will change, but this will always stay the same. Show you this. That this will always be the 1, this will always be the 7, and this will be the 3 and the 4. And we're going to put that there. Same. Just so you know, just so why this is so important to know. So, and why it doesn't jump out at you, because this is always changeable. You can slide this up and down the fretboard, and these notes will change, but the function will always stay the same. This will always be the do, this will always be the mi, this will always be the fa, and this will always be the ti. So all we're missing is so, la, and re, right? So, and just to give you a little heads up there, it's as easy as this. Knowing your major scale is as easy as knowing adding in 2 notes here and 2 notes here. Now, if you did math really quick in your head, you said, hey, wait a minute, so hold on, 4 plus 4 is 8, there's only 7 notes. How does that make any sense? You're always going to have the 1, the 7, the 3, and the 4. So there's your 5, there's your 6. Where's our 2? Our 2 is here, and doesn't 2 come before 3 here? So our 2 is here, but you're saying, well, wait a minute, how can there be 2 2s? Now, think about tuning your guitar. When you tune your guitar, you use the 5th fret, right? The 5th fret is the same as the string below. 5th fret, string below. So if this was the open A that I just tuned there on the 5th fret E string, A note matches the A open string. Let's see that. A, okay, so this would be E, E sharp, oh no, sorry, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, 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 for our Canadian friends. It's A, eh? You Canadians. Alright, so, friendly Canadians, our friends from Rush were Canadians. Only 90 miles from here. I live 90 miles from the border of Canada in Rochester, New York. As is above, so is below. So we're using string pairs here. So we've got that one here. We have another basically connected to the corner. We have another box, but it falls over the break. So we get into the broken box there. Broken boxes, and then since that is the bottom of the other box, we have the top of the other box here. So in other words, we always have the B and the F connecting. So B, F, B, F, B, F, B, F. And here's another thing to notice. So in other words, this would be B, F, B, F, B, F. And you say, hey, that's weird how that repeats just 2 notes. And you've also heard of the tritone, right? That's a tritone, or the exact halfway through the scale. That's just if you consider that the 1, made that your root note for whatever reason, then you'd have root flat 5, root flat 5, root flat 5. Just something for advanced. Got a little off on a tangent here for my advanced players, but anyways, let's continue with our teaching here. So we've basically completed everything we need to know, because everything from here is a repeat. So you said, well, Mark, once you're here, if you don't want to be lost, you just think as is above, so is below. So basically above that, is there another box? Yes. If you have a half box on the bottom, you have a whole box at the top. If you have a whole box at the bottom, you have a half box at the top. See how everything kind of works in like a geometric flip-flop? Just your job is to just kind of fish all these out, and then everything is so easy to memorize, it's just silly. So you're basically at the octave. So for example, if that's C, we'd have C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F. Hey look, E, F. We'd have F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and C, B and C, B and C, B and C, E and F, B and C, E and F, B, C, E, F, B, C, E, F, B, C, B, C, E, F. See how that works? So simple, and you've got 4 notes of your major scale easily accessible across anywhere in the fretboard. So there was me taking that all the way up the octave, quick and easy. So let's roll into the pentatonic scales. Now, Where do the pentatonic scales fit into this mix, and why are there 3 of them? And once you're, what this will do is give you, not only will you be able to play the major scale, but you'll be able to break out into 3 different pentatonics and use them as flavors. Whatever chord is playing when you do that is going to kind of create the flavor that the pentatonic gives. But let's go back to a note that we did here. Which one was it? Oh yeah, this one here. So remember in the beginning there was Earth. We talked about 3 pentatonics, and we added in 2 notes to make the major scale. And look at what showed up. A box, and a broken box. Remember them boxes? Well, those are the boxes that we were just talking about. So let's add in these 3 pentatonic shapes. Where would they go? Hey, look, there's a box. So theoretically we know we have a pentatonic scale that uses the box in the beginning. So here, hold on. Oopsie daisy. Let's concentrate on this one first, our Dorian Lydian box, okay? Dorian is the minor, Lydian is the major. So that should be the 2, and that should be the 4. Let's check this out. And our box is on this side of the pentatonic. So that would mean we would draw a pentatonic here. So basically we just did this, considering like our pentatonic shape is there. Okay? And so that should be the 2. Hey, look, there's the 1, right? So we said that that's always the 1. Oops, sorry. There's the 1, there's the 1, there's the 2. 2, Dorian. And 3 and 4. 4 is Lydian. Cool, right? So there we have our Dorian Lydian box. Put your root note there and play these gut notes, and you can see where it all comes from and how you can just switch into pentatonic. There's your pentatonic scale. You can just play the pentatonic notes up and down when that root note is playing and still kind of get a Dorian pentatonic sound, or you can add in your, where your gut notes are and make it a full scalar sound. And just as a hint, when you're playing scales, thinking scales and melodies and trying to sound interesting, your sweetness, milk in the sweetness out of every scale, really experiment with your half steps in your solos. You're going to find that the all I was doing there to make some sweeter sounds is to concentrate on my half step and bend them or slide them. You see, like you got this it sounded basic, kind of sparse, until I added in there's the real emotional content is in these little half steps, because they're more dissonant, they're a little bit more tense than whole steps, like just the way this sounds. Kind of basic, and this sounds a little sweeter because it's more tense. Here's turning that into a whole step. It just sounds regular. It's a step. And then this is a little bit. Okay. It's like when you don't make the step and you stub your toe. The pain is a little sweeter. Okay, so thinking like going up steps and stairs. That's where my mind was. So there's our pentatonic, and to avoid confusion, we won't draw I'll leave it up to you to know your pentatonic scale all the way up and down the fretboard from there. The whole every note in the pentatonic works from there. Now, is there another pentatonic? Let's use a kind of a different color there should be 2 more pentatonics. And once we're done filling in the pentatonic, I want to show you how you have every note of the scale filled in just by playing every pentatonic. So let's try this one here. Suddenly an Indian guy came out of me. The Phrygian, Mixolydian is here with a shape. Basically, it's a pentatonic, but the square is here and here. Okay, that's just to get you clued in here. We got kind of see the squares there. See the squares over the basic shape. Well, here's our clue. Our square is at the bottom, right? Well, there's only one square at the bottom, 2 notes. There's only one place that is, aside from its octave brother down the fretboard. It's right here. So it stands to reason that there's another pentatonic. So we're gonna color that in pink here. So here we'll just use this first box. We're going to call that the X box, right? And we'll use a little X to denote that. And we're going to see there's some overlap here. And so we got the second pentatonic, which is the Phrygian Mixolydian pentatonic, right here. Now if you keep hearing this referred to as modes and you want to make yourself like a modal note system, you can also do this. It's helpful to do this under the C, which is just the example, right? This changes, this is always static. Your 1 is your Do. You're always going to hear this. Your 1, your 2, your 3, your 4, your 5, your 6, and your 7. You should have this written down somewhere. Little code box here. As an example key, you should use the key of C, because the key of C is used a lot because it uses all the whole notes and not the black keys. So, white key example.
C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And then you should write down Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, so you kind of get how it is musically. And then you should write down your modal code. So, the 1 is always Ionian. Oh, you can also put your, just so you know, you should also have your
chord function, which would be, here we're going to use this row for what we wrote over there, our half steps. Major, then minor, 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 major, major, or actually this is the dominant 7th, so that's where you put M7 there. So when you hear people talk about the 7th and the 5th and Mixolydian, you kind of know what they're talking about there. Then another minor here, and then diminished. This one, I'm going to put a question mark there because it doesn't show up at pentatonic. It's not used very much. Basically, you can always think about, this leftover diminished as basically, if you were using like this scale or you were creating something, it's very tense. You can think it's basically, you just draw an arrow here. It's always trying to lead you back to the 1. So you can give it an easy function to, basically, if you don't want to, if it kind of bugs you to leave it out empty and you just wonder, what is that all about? It's used in jazz a lot. You can always give it a function as always wanting to go to the home, to the root, and if you leave it by itself, it's like the enigmatic scale, or it just kind of leaves you open-ended, hanging. It always wants to resolve, and where does it want to resolve? It wants to resolve to the 1, whether it's a standalone chord or you're using it as a chord and playing all the notes of the scale over that chord, making it a melody in a chord, making it the Locrian sound. It's just basically Locrian wants to always go to Ionian. It's just a basic function you can give it to understand it. It's deeper, it's music theory, you're the creator, you can do anything you want with these modes and create any old thing you want. So that's where you're not stuck with music theory, but give yourself the basics to get it understood. Anyways, Ionian, we need to know that this is Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian. So when you hear these come up, you can go back to your, like, what are they? Wait a minute, Aeolian, wait, what is that? Oh, yeah, it's based on the 6th note. It's going to be my A in the C major scale. It's a minor chord. It's the 6 minor, and it's Aeolian. Not to be confused with the A note. There's some confusion happens here because Dorian, and if you use the C major example, Dorian falls with the D, and Aeolian falls with the A, and that can cause some confusion. But you say, hey, Mark, what about Locrian? That's the same L as Lydian. How do you distinguish them? Always put an X there, LX, because that's the one that's the L that you don't use very much, and this is the L that you probably will use a lot if you want to create songs that have that Joe Satriani sound. Because guess who uses Lydian a lot, which is a little more interesting major than Ionian. How do you create more interest? Just do some basic music theory and milk stuff that most people just can't grasp, but now you can because you watched my videos. So anyways, make that key for yourself so you know what I'm talking about here. Back to basics here. So we had this pentatonic, and we said it was based over Phrygian, P, and what was the other one? Mixolydian. So that should be the 3 and the 5. Let's check it out. We know that this is always the 1. So then we would have the 2, like we said, 2 Dorian, right? And we have the 3 here, Phrygian, like we have in our notes here. The 4 is Lydian, just like I said, Dorian, Lydian, Phrygian, Mixolydian. Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian. Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian. Alright, so sure enough, there's our Phrygian Mixolydian scale, which emotionally was this guy here. We've already discussed this here. So we can see that not only is that a scale, but it's also a pentatonic. And then you have a pentatonic. You can break into, if you're noodling over a scale, especially if you're in a key and you want to create some interest, you should experiment for yourself, breaking into these individual pentatonic, create some lines based on these pentatonic shapes that are in an unusual spot than you're used to, but still contain all the notes of the major scale, so you won't be playing a wrong note. And basically, there really are no wrong notes, or just you got to know how to handle certain notes. But as a general sense, where there's nothing listed, this would sound like a wrong note, but if you quickly slide it into a real note, or purposefully play it on an offbeat and slide it into a strong beat, it's actually not a wrong note. It's just a flavor tone. That's why some people say there's no wrong notes, or jazz musicians will say, ha ha ha, there's no such thing as a wrong note. That's what you're hearing. This is what you can visualize what they're talking about right here. If you know how to handle these notes, they're not wrong notes. If you don't know how to handle them and you just land on here, be like, hey, I'm going to end here on a strong beat, it's going to sound, that's where you got like, oh, you can't play, you don't know what's going on. That's where those notes come from. So wow, it's a very powerful bunch of information right there. It was about why you can't just pick up a guitar and play and it sounds like wrong notes. So you get the concept of there are wrong notes. That's what's going on. You're just simply not playing in the framework of what chords are establishing. When you have no chords in the background, there's also less chance of wrong notes because, well, there's not much to compare to. But some will sound wrong because at some points you're playing into these shapes and your ear hears that, so it's expecting the rest of the shape. But if you, for example, play this bottom part here, ended up on that note, was kind of sounded wrong, but it didn't sound like that wrong. It sounded like something could be done with it because there's no reference point in the background. So if you don't have a reference point, then it becomes harder to perhaps hear this and get it in your ear audibly. it in your auditory senses. But because I could always have done this. Check this out. All I did was the trick where, this is why Victor Wooten says, if you ever hit a wrong note, always slide up. You can even slide down, because check out what surrounds any wrong note, a right note. Wrong note, right note, wrong note, right note. These are all the 5 quote-unquote wrong notes, or black keys of the scale, and they're all, you can just visualize it right here. Every bad note is surrounded by a good note. And at that moment, I was playing so many notes in a scale, it was getting kind of boring. Your mind was actually ready for some what's called tension. I was basically playing on release. Once you play all the right notes, you're playing in release. You can consider staying on all the right notes, playing being Mr. Theory, Wise Theory, so boring. It's because you're playing in the release notes. Stop calling them scales. Start calling them releases. Now, if I hit that wrong note and I play a second wrong note, all of a sudden it sounds like I got lost. Because we hit 2 wrong notes in a row. So your mind is, not only hearing release notes, but it's giving them a tempo too. And once you hit a wrong note, it's okay as long as you resolve it on a beat to a right note. So that's how to make a wrong note a right note. So I can go on and on and on repeating the same thing. So because it's such a cool concept and cool topic. But let's find that third pentatonic, right? Get to the damn point, dude. So where's the third pentatonic? Well, it should almost actually jump out at you from here, because we could remember that we've done this one and this one. So theoretically, we've got our 6 and our 1 is left, and we have the broken box at the bottom. And the broken box over here, where do we find that in the scale? We find that, look at that, there is the broken box. And in the cut notes, the broken notes, so it should be right here, and there's our 1 and our 7 and our 6 and our 5, our 4, 3, 2, back to the 1. Alright, so there's our 1. Here's our 6. So we can draw our pentatonic wall right there. I am the walrus. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Hey, Beatles, right? Alright, cool. So here we go. Now we want to get that identified, because when you draw it like that, it starts to get confusing on which squares we're looking at here. So it's this, 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 and this, this, this. Kind of some L's there for A-E-O-Lean. I don't know. That was kind of weird, but well, I drew an extra note in there, but I drew actually all the extra notes in there to, but here, this is how we'll make it. So oops, I even messed up there. You're going to have to visualize that, but all the circles make up the third pentatonic box that goes over the 6 and the 1. And so then we'll draw a square here for this one, and an X for the other one. You can see how basically now you know that two of the pentatonics, speaking to my microphone here, oops, square goes there, screwed that up, that's an X. And then we got a square, and make sure I get this right, square, 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 and square. So you can see we've got 1 and 2, these overlap each other. Your Dorian box and your Phrygian box, if you just want to refer to them as minor, that's kind of how I do it. But it kind of sometimes I get, I can't think quickly about what's my major. You might want to actually call this, I might actually want to do this for myself, kind of teaching myself here, to call this my Dorian Lydian box and my Phrygian Mixolydian box, my what DL box, my PM box, and my AI box. What artificial intelligence, PM for nighttime, and DL for download. Download, nighttime, and artificial intelligence. I don't know. If you want to give them wacky names that help you remember, if that works for you, do it. And then you have this one right here, which is on its own. Out in no man's land. No man's land. Doing what you can. And so there is technically a note right there. And, you know, from there, and once you're jamming, you know, if you were in that pentatonic, let's play that, we're going to make this the B string, the B note on the 6th string. Here's our pentatonic. Now we're going to fill in the gut notes. You see how that made it a lot sweeter? Now I want to expand my scale. I'm drawing a blank over to what's next over here. Well, I don't have to draw a blank. All I have to do is play that next square. And I always know that when I have a square on these middle strings, well, I'm in that shape there, Dorian. Just went all the way up and down, wherever I wanted to go, just simply thinking about taking when I'm kind of stuck, where's my next box? And then when I get to my next box, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what box that box is part of the big Dorian shape. And then when I get to this box, I know, oh yeah, I've got Phrygian and Dorian right there. And then I can bring it up to that box, and I know that box connects to this box, and I'm back in the Aeolian shape. And I'm, next thing you know, with 3 concepts, I am completely all over every note I need on the fretboard. And not only that, I have every tension note I need. If things get boring, add in a wrong note. Perks up the listener's ear. They always go, oh, hit a wrong note, he doesn't know, and go into a right note, and you're good. Or here's a neat one. Kind of like, lately I've been liking this shape right here. Just draw it out for you here. Take any place where you've got 2 notes together, but there's a dead note right there, and just kind of play that note, then these notes. So I'll show you. See what I did there? All those interesting parts, I went, oh, cool. How did you kind of make that sound kind of a little less than boring? All I did was enter that note in and then wrap it up with the 2 notes. Instead of going simply to the next note up there, showed a little bit more advanced knowledge and played those 2 notes right there. This little face right here can make you sound like a much cooler player. So you learned today in this lesson, this is what we learned. We learned how the pentatonics, we learned how to make a scale on the whole fretboard, how the 3 pentatonics get into each shape. We learned how our intervals plug in. We learned that the notes might be different, but the functionality stays the same. We learned how to make a quick note thing so we can get memorized really quick on what the 2, how that's the Dorian, how the 3 equals Phrygian and 4 equals Lydian, how placing a chord, the proper chord, over those. So if I want Lydian, it's going to be a major chord. Where's that? Way up here. Major chord. If I put a major chord over the 4, the 4th note of the scale, it's going to have a Lydian sound. So if I take the 1, 2, 3, 4, I put a major chord here, you can see that that would work. We'd have the root, 5, root, major 3rd, 5, root, basic bar chord, or played it on a piano and held the note down, or had a friend strum that on another guitar, whatever way you do it, to put that into your looper, and you play your scale from there, that's going to give that Lydian sound, and you can break it into pentatonics. You could play this pentatonic, you could play this pentatonic, you could play this pentatonic to create 4 bars of just riffing on this pentatonic, another 4 bars just playing on this pentatonic, another 4 bars messing around with this pentatonic, another 4 bars playing in the entire scale, and then another 4 bars adding in tension notes and resolving them. Sounding like a pro. Boom. Simple, easy, everything you need to know to become an awesome player. So simple on my channel. I'll throw it down like the gummy bears on that other dude's channel that does a similar thing. What is that? What's his channel? I really love his channel too. I'll plug his channel. Oh my god. It's something tone. Oh my god. I can't believe it escapes me, but 12 tone. That's it. 12 tone. If you haven't checked out 12 tones lessons, you can understand a lot more of what he's talking about. He's very theory based, but he makes it really fun, and he draws as he gives his well edited lessons, and talks to you about different songs and different concepts, and you can understand a lot more of what he's talking about once you can understand, how, oh yeah, so he's talking about the 4th here Lydian, yeah, I know that, yeah, it comes off the 4th, or, Mixolydian comes off the 5, and it's about jamming a chord. So let's hear it. Now let's make this musical, okay? So that's the final thing I'll leave you with today. I'll do some jamming, and then, oh my god, for a second I thought, like, what if I wasn't streaming? And it does say it's streaming. Okay, because I thought if I wasn't streaming and I just did all this and lost it, I would be pretty mortified. Because I think this is probably one of the most to the point, impactful lessons I've done to date, and I'm pretty happy with it. So just would have been, my only thing is I say a lot, and I think it would have been better if I could have edited this and made it straightforward to the point, but I use these as templates. If I can get to this channel, if you guys support me on Patreon or whatever, something happens and I can turn this into a daily, something I just stay in my music studio and work on for 8 hours a day as a job, while it will turn into a job, and that won't be as fun, but jobs are jobs, right? But anyways, it's what I love to do, so that would be a better job. I would be able to make this into a professional series that's edited and looking totally awesome, but that's up to you guys if you want to support or not. And it's up to me to get my Patreon all figured out, so it's linked properly, and you guys can go there and support it and all that jazz. So once again, we said Mixolydian, right? So let's play I'm going to play a chord here, any chord. Let's see.
How about we get a better tone there?
Thank you, everybody. Who you guys out there? Did you guys like my lesson today? Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. F, and I'm playing F7 chord. So it's going to sound good if I take my F note, which is here, and consider that my 5. So what's my 5? My 5 is going to be 1, Because the 1 is always here, it's always static. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So here's where I am. So I have a note here, and there's my square. So if I start with my square there, I'm going to be able to mentally build this whole thing in my mind. Watch this. Draw a blank, I know that if I've gone up one note here, I'm right here, and now I'm in this. I've played enough normal notes, I'm going to add in this little tension device here. See if you can hear it. Sounded a little bad there because I was getting really experimental as I got kind of bored there and started playing three white blank wrong notes in a row and then resolving it to major notes just to kind of see how it sounded, you know. Maybe I come up with something that I dig, maybe it doesn't sound good, it fails, so you know, that's up to you. And then you can hear my phrasing there is kind of basic. Look, I'll hear someone like Rick Beato play, and he's playing all these same notes, but he really has got a cool way of phrasing it. It gives it a real jazz flavor, and it's something that also he's worked on with his picking and fretting hand technique, kind of like a string skipping or a sweep picking kind of thing going on, and that's more like technique versus it's the same notes, but I guess what I'm getting at here is also I was kind of basic, just to kind of be basic for the video and get it so you can get into your ears. You can hear what you can do just knowing basic lines. Jumping around to create interest. I guess what I'm thinking is I've sort of hit a wall where I found that creativity and I'm happy with it, but then I'm like, yeah, but somehow this still sounds a little bit, if I compare myself to other players, which we all do, right? Then I'm like, oh gee, boy, that person's way more advanced than I am. My lines are basic, and that's because scale, just you know the basics now. Now you're noodling through the basics of scales, and people have done that for years. And now people have learned to create phrasing things that are just really create interest. And well, that's up to you, noodling around, and that's where people are different. Some people kind of naturally. I'm, being such a linear thinker that could think of all this, and kind of stuck always on geometry, and maybe I'm not as creative and don't come up with some of those phrasing things right off the bat. But also, that being said, I think I'm kind of just coming down on myself too hard there. What you can also do to kind of get around that is you don't have to be like expressively creative and come up with this stuff yourself. You learn some jazz songs and you just basically learn what other people did, because that's, now that I think about it, that sounds, different than just playing scale lines, and I know that just because that's all the same moves I've learned out of every rock solo I played. This is what everybody does. And when you learn the jazz moves, you're kind of learning moves that will be like, very common jazz moves, and you just learn those, and then they start showing up in your playing, and you can learn them everywhere. Or you learn groups of five, and you learn to play groups of five real fast. Well, then suddenly you can sound like there's a kind of an Eric Johnson technique, or you can look up online playing groups of five pentatonic and five pentatonic, groups of five pentatonic notes real fast. They have those Eric Johnson kind of pentatonic moves. That's not all he does, obviously, and his playing is quite clearly well beyond that. But just as an example there of getting super creative with all these notes. But there's the basics of it. So I guess I've showed you what I wanted to show, and I've reached a point where I got to run and do other things. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. There's my I can feel satisfied going down the road that I at least did something for my channel, because that's, I guess, where the basics of this come from. I'm on my regular job going, so this job is great, but what about my music channel? It's totally sitting there falling apart because I'm not uploading anything to it, while everybody else is making videos every day. You got Signals Music Studio. I'll give him a plug. He's making fantastic studio quality videos. David Wallyman, studio quality videos all the time, making uploads, keeping your interest in their channel. And I wish I could do the same thing. But I got this job to pay the bills that keeps me completely away from my computer setup here. I'd show you, but my desk is a mess. I'd be too embarrassed to show you, but it's a just funky little setup here, but I can't really do the same thing in the van. And I can edit videos here where I have to go live in the van if I make a video. And so, but I can only edit here if I have a lot of time, like a whole day, like ask any of these people, they'll tell you, like, these things take a day or two to make a good edited quality video, and once they get really good at it, they can probably whip them out in probably a day's work. But it's hours of work. Going live is a lot easier, hence why you see a lot of the YouTube channels do live videos. I noticed Rick Beato does a lot of live videos just to keep some stuff on their channel happening, but to make it live. So anyways, I guess what I'm saying is support me on Patreon. But if you don't do that, as everybody says, click the like button on your click the notification button, and click the subscribe button as well. That would be really awesome to see my subscribership go up. I've been up 5 or 6 in the last few weeks, so to those latest 5 people, you know who you are. The most, and to all my subscribers, I have like nothing but the deepest thanks to you for showing me that, hey, there is interest in this does help somebody. And so I guess I'm going to leave you with that. Have a great day. Enjoy your upcoming festive celebrations, whatever they are, springtime, what we're in. You'll be watching this at any time throughout the years coming up, but this is we're late March 2020. Snow is starting to melt here. It's the Northeast, and it's still very cold, but as we get into springtime. So Look forward to more videos coming up on the channel, but probably from me out on the road in the delivery van. I'll make some more videos for you guys, and on and on. So thank you for watching today. We will talk to you soon, and leave any questions you had about the video in the comment section below. Thank you. Have a great day.